What is going on? This is Will from Never Behind. Do a little walk and talk. So Utah. So we have many countries that have put in place on a voluntary basis, of course. Well, not all, if you think about China. Voluntary basis of digital ID, and now Utah is talking about it. And it's concerning, considering no matter where I go, whether it's a store, the gym, work, talking to people, you never hear anyone speaking of digital ID and being concerned about it. And if they get it through, I'm not going to talk about it the whole time, I'm just going to do it in the beginning because the last two videos talked about it. But it has to be touched on every day. And if we are not doing that collectively, and they get digital ID passed through, and they transfer it from voluntary to mandatory, soon after is digital currency, soon after is social credit, and soon after is the end of humanity as we know it. Because that level of technology, that level of surveillance, that level of control, how do you come back from that? They have the technology. What they show us, what they say that they have, is on general rule about 100 years behind of what they actually have. And so they have the technology for digital ID. They have it already. Just like they had the magical vaccines ready when COVID just came out of nowhere. And if you do a little bit of research there, if you're not well versed in who we're dealing with, you know that it's problem, reaction, solution. They did not make magical vaccines in a short amount of time because of this new novel virus. There was no new novel anything. The vaccines were waiting for them to put in place what they talked about with the World Economic Forum, Johns Hopkins, Project Lockdown, all of the things that they talked about. So Operation Lockdown, Project Lockdown, whatever it was. I think it was back in 2011. But these things have been planned out for decades upon decades. And so problem, reaction, solution. So they will make as much chaos as possible. They will cause as much fear and distress as possible. They will have hacking. They will have cyber attacks. And they will say, you know what? We have no choice. Everybody has to ID themselves in order to get on the internet. That simple. Might turn around because I don't have my hat with me, so it's pretty bright to be able to look at the camera. But that's what they'll do. That's what they always do. Problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem. They know exactly how humanity will react. And they have the solution for whatever which way humanity decides to go. And that's where we're heading. And now we have states talking about it, Utah being the first one, I believe. It's incredible. And then all over, the freedom community, the freedom movement, the truth movement, the conspiracy movement, whatever you want to call it. They're still talking about the symptoms of what's taking place. Yes, the symptoms are important, but to deal with so they don't get too out of hand. But the root cause, the source, if that's not faced, if that's not eradicated, if that's not dealt with, the symptoms just continue. They'll manifest. They'll strengthen. And everything is a symptom of the belief in man-made authority, that other people have the right to tell you how to live your life. Everything stems from that because we don't want to be sovereign, spiritual human beings that have a direct connection to God. And we want to believe that we need intermediaries, whether it's a church, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a politician, whether it's a police officer, whether it's an allopathic doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a banker. We want to believe that these people, because of their job, that they have more authority than we do. And they get to decide how we live our lives. They get to decide how this realm will operate. They get to decide the direction that humanity will go. And if you know anything about these motherfuckers, they are Satanists and they want nothing but pure domination. They hate humanity. They hate everything that is godly. They hate everything that is beautiful and innocent. Their number one resource is children, the trafficking of children, the murder, rape, torture, and sacrifice of children. That is their number one resource. That is the closest thing to God you can get to you, is an innocent child. And when you corrupt that child, when you destroy that child, that is where they get their energy from. That is what these motherfuckers live off of. And people still, 2025, whatever real year it is, it's not really 2025. We don't know what fucking year it is because we use their calendars. We use their system of time. And it's all the same people. Bloodlines. It's all the same people for generation after generation, controlling the way that humanity will go. Setting reset after reset after reset, to the point to where we are here now, where human beings are walking around sicker, fatter, and dumber than they've ever been, morbidly overweight, apathetic, lethargic, crayon-colored hair. They think it's cute and fashionable to walk around like cattle with a fucking septum piercing. Where men are performative in their masculinity, meaning they'll grow a beard and they'll take steroids, they'll take testosterone, they'll take whatever they need to, and they'll get in the gym, and they think that makes them a man. I've said it before. You can take a 6'4", 225-pound, ripped, jacked, bearded, tatted up man and stand him next to a 5'6", 5'5", skinny, clear skin, no tats, not intimidating, right? You can stand him next to that. And if that 5'5", 5'6" man knows about what's going on in the world, speaks truth against evil, cares about the direction of humanity, cares about his ancestors, doesn't watch mainstream, doesn't follow mainstream anything, doesn't care more about sports than he does freedom, that 5'5", 5'6" man is more of a man than that 6'4", image-obsessed, performance-obsessed egomaniac that posts his pre-workout meals and his workouts on Instagram to influence 12-year-old boys, 13-year-old boys. I would stand shoulder to shoulder with that man that was born in a much smaller stature, that's not injecting steroids out of ego. That is far more of a man. But we don't know what real masculinity is anymore. We don't. Like I said, we assume this performance that, and it's a shame because women, their psychology is so low level, a lot of them, in the masses, that they fall for. They want the 6'3", they want the 6'2" guy because they feel safe. Has nothing to do with morality, has nothing to do with spirituality, has nothing to do with freedom, has nothing to do with what kind of father the person would be. They want the tall guy, right? They want the 6'6", 6 figure, 6 foot, 6 inches, 6 pack, all of it. But the moral man, the strong man, the one that will honor them as a woman, just because he might be short, just because he doesn't go to the gym 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever it is, no time for him. And that's all part and parcel of how we got to where we are. Performance, image, symbolism. Because people want that more than they want the real thing. They want the word freedom. They want their daddies and their mommies and government to talk about freedom, but they don't actually want freedom. Because freedom requires you as a man or a woman to live completely and utterly responsible. You are responsible for your health. You are responsible for your well-being, psychological, physical, all of it. They don't want that. They want the police to be around the corner. They want the standing military in every country of the world, ready to kill innocent people the second their mommy and daddy and government tells them to. They want that. They don't want the real thing. The real thing takes courage. The real thing takes confidence and high self-esteem. The real thing might be risky. And in reality, it's not. Because in reality, Although most human beings aren't good people, most human beings are nice people. There's a vast difference between good and nice. A good person wants to be free and lives accordingly, understands objective truth, understands objective morality. That's a good man or a good woman. The world is full of nice people, but nice isn't good. There's a lot of nice people that support the police, military, and the government. They're pleasant to talk to, they might have a good sense of humor, they're affable, whatever, they're nice. But they're not good people. Because if you support a system that kills at will, that murders innocents, that pollutes this realm, that destroys this realm, if you support that system in any form or fashion, you can't, by definition, be a good person. If you go along with what your daddy Trump says or does, or your daddy Biden, whoever it is, whatever side of the aisle you find yourself lost in, if you support what your mom or your daddy do and what they say and what they support, you by definition can't be a good person because you're supporting violence, you're supporting evil, you're supporting the destruction of everything that God wants us to be. You might be nice, you might be fun to talk to, but there's a vast difference. We have to stop confusing the two. Because when we understand and we live in that truth that there's a difference between a good person and a nice person, we can see where we are. This world's full of nice people. We don't have a whole lot of good people, hence the world that we live in. Look at what we allow to happen to children. Look at what we allow allopathic medicine to do day in and day out to people that don't know any better. If those nurses and doctors were good people, they would research, they would learn. They would question, because they see that none of their patients are getting better. They see that cancer is rising. They see that autism is rising. They see that myocarditis is rising, right? They see all of these things, all of the psychologists and therapists. They see that the mental health of this country is plummeting. And if they were good people, they would research and they would learn and they would observe and they would objectively find the truth behind the devolution of humanity. But they're not doing that. They're accepting a paycheck. They're putting on Band-Aids for some, and they're actively making the situation worse in most cases. Now, these people might be nice and fun to talk to. They might be handsome, they might be pretty, they might be funny, they might be silly, but they're not good people. How could they be? They're not doing the one thing that's required of you to be a good person, which is to question, which is to observe this realm, which is to observe people, which is to observe what's taking place in this fucking world so we can maybe fix it. Because if you're not observing it, if your face is always on your phone, if your face is always on the TV, or if you're always talking and your mind's never quiet so you can hear what your soul is saying to you, because it never speaks above a whisper. If you're never quiet, if you're never focusing, how are you ever going to find out what's taking place? How could you? So yeah, we're full. This world's full of nice people. But what has nice got in this world? Look what's going on with the genocide of Christians in African countries right now. Look what's going on with the genocide of the Palestinian people in 2025, live streamed. You can see people treated in the most horrific ways possible. You can look at the numbers and see that hundreds of thousands of children between 0 and 3 years old in Palestine have been absolutely wiped off this fucking realm, wiped out of this realm. Whole lot of nice people, not a whole lot of talking about what's taking place. It's sad. It's sad, and I often wonder, has it always been this way? Is it ever going to change? Can it change? Or is the fate of humanity to just wipe itself out? Will the Georgia Guidestones become reality, where we have this evil bloodline group of people, these bloodline families and those that they might be a part of, where they're sitting at the top of 500 million of a mixed race, nationless, rootless, lost people? Is that where we're heading? It looks like it. You see all the stuff that the character Trump, who is not who he says he is, what he's doing over in Israel with the peace deal. These people are not who they say they are. And there's so much great research out there to prove that, beyond any shadow of a doubt. Not conspiracy theory, conspiracy realism. When you look into what takes place in Hollywood, and you look into transvestigation, and you look at this religion of these people, and you look at first ladies, and you look at princesses, you look at queens, and you look to see how sick and twisted these people really are. And that is who people look up to. They have no clue that they're worshiping bona fide evil, pure evil. They have no clue. And so what do? They give them their energy, they give them their support, they give them their money. And we find ourselves in this situation where the world just keeps going in the same direction with all these nice people just cheering it on. And that's what's really hard when you go through this information, and it's almost 20 years for me of reading and learning and observing, a lot of observing. And when you enjoy that, one of my favorite things to do back in the day, or, pre-understanding all of this stuff, to the degree that I keep learning now, and I try to keep learning every single day. But one of my favorite things that used to just sit around and just shoot the shit and talk. Whether it's outside or whatever it is, on a patio, just to sit around and shoot the shit. Have some laughs. But as I get older, and you realize that there is a huge difference between nice and good people, and that the people that you're sitting around talking with might very well be supporting with their life and with their energy and with their time and with their attention the very institutions that are destroying humanity, that are wiping it off the fucking earth, right off, that are poisoning us. And so it's hard to ignore that and to sit around with people that don't care and don't know about what's still going on. And not only don't know and don't care, they have no interest. Yeah, they might be nice, but they're not good. They're not good in their heart. They're not good in their spirit. They're not good in their soul. And so, just as has happened throughout history, from all the people that I've learned from, a lot of them end up single. A lot of them don't have families. A lot of them don't have children. A lot of them have small circles, if they even have a circle at all. And that just seems to be the way of the Steppenwolf, right? Hermann Hesse Steppenwolf. That you just walk this realm and you see what's taking place. You've never participated in it. You see it for what it is. And because we're all so spread out, those of us that care about this shit, a lot of the days you spend, you're just walking around, observing. It's an interesting life. It really is. It really is an interesting existence to see everything unfolding and to know just how incredibly beautiful our realm is. And even when I show you this, like right now, as I'm looking at these mountains, I know they are not what they tell me that they are. Because from what I've learned and from what I'm gathering is that our level where we used to be was much higher as far as physical height in the plains. So our ancestors used to be, closer to the stars, closer to the heavens, so to speak, meaning our actual base level wasn't sea level where we are now, but it was much higher. And then over time and over resets, over bombardments, over whatever technology's been used to do what they've done to the Grand Canyon and to Canyonlands, and you look at Devil's Tower, and you look at all of these areas in the world, Crater Lake. You look at all the ruins in the southwest and the west of the United States. You look at the ruins in Africa. You look at the ruins everywhere. You go to Asia and you see what they have. And you just look at, okay, so we clearly our realm has been attacked many times and been reset many times, because we can see ruins so far high in elevation where people used to be living. Look at Machu Picchu, right? So mountains aren't exactly what they tell us they are. You think of tabletop mountains and you think of the giant megalithic trees. Think about what waterfalls really are. When you have waterfalls so high in elevation where there's no drainage taking place, so where's the water coming from? It's a never-ending flow of water, but yet there's no elevation to make the water come and drain down. When you look into stuff like that, your mind will be fucking blown, and you'll realize just how much has taken place in this realm, how many resets we've been through. And you look at where we are now, and then you have to ask yourself, were we always like this? Were human beings always so apathetic, so weak, so willingly ignorant? I don't know. I don't know. I do not know. But I can't believe it. But then you think, you go down the realm of, okay, well, creationism, atheism, both incorrect. So what is it? Where do we come from? And you look at our chromosomes, you look at the 23rd chromosome, how it looks like it's been spliced together. And you look at all of the ancient stories, think of the Nephilim, and you think of Anunnaki, and you think of all of these things. And there's just so much to go, so many rabbit holes to go down. And then you can get lost in all of that. But as, Max Egan so rightly says, if we were free, as Mark Passio says it, if we were free, we would know the answers to our history. We would know with a certainty what this realm is, because those at the top, these social controllers, the powers that should never fucking be, that have made this slave world into what it is, with our willing participation, of course, they know. They absolutely know. They know what human beings used to be. They know what this realm is, because it's not what they say it is. They know what is taking place here, and we could find those answers, whether they're deep in the Vatican, whether in deep underground military bases, wherever the information is, it's there, and they know what it is. But we will never get to know it, because we delegate our power to them. We give them our God-given gifts of personal responsibility and creation. We have the gift of creation. And if people could just think about how beautiful and amazing that is, we can think of something and we can turn it into physical reality. That's creation. That's so unbelievably beautiful. But how many people do it? And it's not doing it to get fame, and it's not doing it to get notarized or to get noticed. It's not doing it to make money. It's just doing it for their own benefit, whether it's writing or sculpting or making woodworks, or building something or writing something or making music, right? A theory, an idea, we can turn them into reality. And that is the gift of creation that we have. We've been given that. And so I'll end it on this. We've been given the gift of creation by God, by the hand of creation. We've been given that. And look what we're creating. Look at what we're doing to children. Their minds, their hearts, their spirits, the obesity, the chronic illness, the destruction of their future. Look at what we're doing to the most innocent among us. To the spirits closest to God, look at the world we are creating for them. Collectively, not all of us, obviously. I will never say all of us, because myself included, some of us do everything in our power to live as moral as possible, to make our ancestors proud of who we are. And by default, we try to live to benefit the future of humanity. So not all of us, and I know a lot of you watching this are beautiful human beings that do the same. You live in a way that will not allow your spirit to be held accountable for any of this, because you understand that your spirit is connected to God. And you understand what objective truth is and objective morality. So when I say look at what humanity is doing to the state of children with our gift of creation, you know that I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the masses, the herd, the unbegun, as Mark Passio has shared with us. That phrase is such a fucked up phrase, but it's true. But it's true. The unbegun, meaning, yeah, you're walking around this realm, you're eating, you're going to the restroom, you're making children, you're creating life, you're going to work, but you have not begun to live a spiritual life. You don't ask questions, you don't question anything. You do your 9 to 5 for 60 years, 50 years, and then you leave. That is the unbegun. It's a fucked up phrase. Truly, it truly is. Oh man. But it's true. But anyway, we've been given the gift of creation. We can make this world to whatever the hell we want it to be. And look what we're doing. We have destroyed the imagination of children by shoving them in front of screens. We have destroyed the education of their mind by giving them outcome-based education. Regurgitation of false history, of meaningless data. We've destroyed their creativity, their imagination. We've destroyed their spirit through the frequencies that we allow to be pumped all over this world, through the toxins in the air, the food, and the water. And now, in recent years, we are destroying them to a level that is so utterly disgusting and incomprehensible and unfathomable to me that I'll never understand it to the day I die, how people can be so brainwashed to think it's okay to do what they're doing to children, to allow grown, pedophilic, fucked in the head men to walk around butt naked in front of impressionable children at parades, wearing G-strings and leather straps, to be dressed up as women with this crazy makeup and to be gyrating on stages in front of little children. The stuff that's promoted in cartoons and with toys and movies and music, and we allow free access to children. And that's where we are. I mean, we've been given the gift of creation, and this is what we're creating. And so, in the end, we are all getting, collectively, what we deserve. You know, that great saying, every society gets the criminals it deserves. Every society gets the government it deserves. Those are synonymous, obviously. So everything we're getting is exactly what we deserve. There's not individually, of course, again, but collectively humanity is getting exactly what it deserves, because humanity is apathetic, willingly ignorant, satanic in its mindset, which is just me all day long. How can I benefit me and my creature comforts? Who gives a fuck about what's going on in the world? And here we are. And now we are on the cliff, right? We are right on the cliff, right on the edge of it, with digital ID, digital currency, and social credit systems. Because if you step out of line, if you even so much as question the state, you will be wiped the fuck off. Look what's going on in China. Your bank account will be frozen. Your ability to fuel your car or to charge your car will be turned off. Your ability to buy anything will be erased. So the question is really, what do you do? In the face of all of this, what do you do? Well, you talk about it. You talk about it until there's no ability to talk about it anymore, then you find another way to talk about it. Because there's no way out of it unless more people know what's coming. Either we step into our power as sovereign spiritual beings and we start to create a future that's beautiful, or we walk straight into the Georgia Guidestones and their desire for what they want for humanity, which is a raceless, rootless, nationless, mind-numbingly dumb population that they control as their little slaves. 500 million. And the rest of this beautiful realm will be for their benefit. Not that they give a shit, because these people are evil incarnate. They're Satanists. They're child trafficking, sacrificing pieces of shit. So something like beautiful nature and sunsets and mountain ranges and all the beauty that we can find and how we can be just awe-inspired by nature itself, they don't care about things like that. It doesn't resonate with them. They are pure evil. But either we do that, that's what we do. We either step in our power and we start talking about this and try to get as many people to know what's coming so we can have a chance, or hello, Georgia Guidestones. That's pretty much our only options. There's not going to be a middle ground because the technology is too strong. The technology is too invasive, too pervasive. We will have the 15-minute cities. We will have the track and trace. We will have the destruction of humanity. Infertility will keep rising. Spontaneous miscarriages will keep rising. The division between men and women will keep rising. I mean, look at the levels of hatred between men and women right now. Nobody's getting together. Nobody has strong bonds anymore. People leave at the drop of a hat to go on to the next thing. Young girls and women are proud of their body counts, that the higher the better. They have no clue what that does to them spiritually and psychologically. I mean, look at what's taking place with just the relationships between men and women the world over. That's not just a Western civilization problem. Look at Korea, look at Japan. Birth rates are just plummeting everywhere. Families no longer really exist. Women have been brainwashed to believe that being a slave for a corporation is more free and more liberating than it is to be a loving member of a strong family, creating a loving home raising children and having a loving relationship, an unbreakable bond with a man. That is slavery, while working 50 hours, 60 hours a week at a corporate job where you can be replaced at the drop of a hat and nobody gives a shit about you. That's freedom. Can you imagine the levels of brainwashing that it takes for someone to believe that? To believe that that natural instinct to be a caretaker and to be a loving mother and a loving wife is slavery and is evil and is the patriarchy. The level of brainwashing it only took a few generations, but it worked. And now you see there's an epidemic of loneliness taking place. There's women in their 30s and 40s that are, as many of these channels on YouTube will quote, hitting the wall, and they are devastated. Where are all the good men? I'm so lonely. Well, yeah, because you denied all of your natural instincts and you went with the brainwashing instead. You went with a career that provided no benefit to anyone in the world. Most jobs provide no benefit to this world. You went with that over having a family, having children, having that love that you can never imagine, that you can never replace. And these women that don't have children become so bitter and so angry, and they help to brainwash the women younger than them. You don't need a man. You don't need children. Oh man, we live in fucked up times. It's incredible. I mean, I'll end with that beauty right here. Ready? And where are you? Can you see it? It's following along. Follow it along. Oh, hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to block out the sun. See the chemtrail right in front of the sun. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. Where they block the sunlight, they block the moonlight, they poison the air, food, and water. That's the world we're creating. We've been given the gift of creation, and this is what we're creating as a people. So we get what we deserve, right? Anyway, enough of that. Positive note, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you made it this far, thank you. If you know about what's taking place in the world and you don't partake in it, thank you. Much gratitude. We might not ever meet, we might not ever speak, but you are my brother, you are my sister, and I love you with all my heart for all of those that do not go along with this system, that never have and never will. And whatever comes our way in the coming years, just stay strong, and you know that your spirit is fortified and that it's safe and that it doesn't partake in this horse shit. That doesn't mean you can't laugh throughout the day and you can't have fun and you can't be silly. My natural disposition when I'm not talking about these things is silly and lighthearted. But when I talk about these things, becomes serious. Doesn't mean you can't have fun, you can't do things, and you can't experience life, but just never let this shit take your spirit. You've lasted this long through all of this propaganda, through all of this manipulation, while the rest of the world has fallen for it. You've lasted through it. You've stood strong through it. So you'll make it through the next thing and the next thing. And then when it's your time to leave and when it's my time to leave this realm, we know that we did what we had to do. We stayed human here. We respected our sovereign spirituality. We respected our connection to God. And that's fucking beautiful, and it's something to be proud of. So wherever you are, thank you. Take care of yourself. Never behind.